17 May 2021, and I'm joined by Mr. Tinashe Jonas, President of IDEO Zimbabwe. How are you, sir?
As usual, when I get an invitation to the premium media platform, Gambakwe Media, I get excited.
Thank you very much, sir. And today we have a critical discussion. As usual, I call you here every Monday, and we discuss the important political issues in Zimbabwe. Today we are looking at Nelson Chamisa again. This weekend, there was a lot of activity. Firstly, there was a discussion which involved Fadzai Mahere after a very long time, and other people like Jonathan Moyo and also Atam Tambara. And then after that, there was an e-rally, which just happened yesterday. Did you see all these events?
Yeah, I managed to see them.
Okay, so let's go straight into the main issue that I want us to discuss, which is the key priorities for Nelson Chamisa. Are the people that are representing the MDC alliance able to articulate the key priorities for the MDC alliance and for the way forward?
No one can, because the MDC alliance, it's an alliance of ambitious people, ambitious and failed and advocates. So it's power driven, it's donor funds driven, and it's people who fool themselves that when you are a lawyer, then you are a good politician. It's not a party that is formulated around an ideology. It's not a party that is formulated around the national interest, patriotism, so it's individual interests. The leader, Nelson Chamisa, wants to be a president of Zimbabwe and nothing else. He contested 2018. He's not challenging the local elections for councillors. He's not challenging for member of parliament. He took to court presidential. He's interested he wants his CV to say the president of Zimbabwe. So self-interest, they will never win.
Okay, so let's go to the e-rally first. Chamisa did not address the e-rally. What is happening there?
Chamisa is becoming redundant. Remember, they check the statistics, numbers, they don't lie. Chamisa towards 2018, any speech, any video, social media, he was breaking the internet. He was a huge force. The momentum was like a Titanic. It was a big wave that can sink any ship. But now they see how the numbers are going down, and the rhetoric is always a cry for sympathy, declaring fights with ED, declaring fights with ZANU-PF, promising change is coming, God is in it, we are in a struggle, although it's a fantasy struggle. So the more you talk, even if you see the facial expressions, the energy, Chamisa is no longer having energy, because he knows that what he is saying is not what is happening on the ground. And the ED is quiet. Why? Because the ED sits down with his team, they formulate strategies, and they implement. So you can't threaten someone who is implementing his. ED is not fighting anyone. ED is not contesting with anyone. ED is fighting his own to complete his own strategies. So, and MDC is there to blame. ED is failing to the mandate. ED is what? ED is going to be judged by voters of Zimbabwe. No matter how any political party is going to demonize, insult him, but ED its fate is in the hands of voters, not of MDC Alliance or another person.
Okay, so let's briefly play the video. I want to play like 30 seconds of Job Scala, and then I'll ask you my next question.
The citizens convergence for change. Tigare pass. Turonge kuti nyika yedu toisa kupi. Toda kuitise msoro pamwepo. Nokuti atingagoni kutendere mberi. Namadusura akaita sana ziyambe. Vanothreatena judiciary. Vatumwa na Mnangagwa. Zvose izvi zvinoitwa bedzi nokuti Mnangagwa achinokurwadzwa mudundundu rake kuti he is an illegitimate president. Ari pachigaro chiya mushure mokunge abira president advocate Nelson Chamisa. Tose vana veZimbabwe tinoziva chokwadi ichocho. So kurya kwese kwaari kuita nomuperu wese waari kutaridza muno munyika uri kutaridza kuti Emerson Mnangagwa is not a legitimate president of this country. That's why we have got a crisis of governance. Yokuti muno munyika hatisisina governance which people expected when they participated on the removal of the former president Robert Mugabe in November 2017. Zvakwatiri zvino kutese uyati batani party yeZANU-PF angova mamvemve vakungogwinyira kudzvanyirira kudzingira vanhu nematemo nokuti havachavadi. Hakuna party inotaura kuti ine legitimacy yavanhu inogara misina nguva ichingodzingira navanhu bedzi.
Right. Job Scala said a number of things. Let's go through this. The first one is citizens' convergence for change. Come, all of you, to this thing. What is this citizens' convergence for change?
It's a whole rhetoric and non-event, because you participated in elections. Okay, let's buy their narrative and say 2018 they were rigged, as they say. How do you enter into an election and then you don't do checks and balance? Because Chamisa was on record many times saying they've got anti-rigging experts. And then, so why are they not, if they at all they were rigged, why are they not blaming their anti-rigging experts? That means they were sleeping on duty. And now you can only take power constitutionally. This citizens' convergence, it's a useless thing, because if they converge to do what? To do a demonstration, to remove the sitting government, I mean, unconstitutionally. If they are trying to copy the jihad in Mozambique, it won't happen in Zimbabwe, because the guys in ZANU-PF, they come from the bush, and that bush was in Mozambique. So the demonstration has failed dismally, and this convergence, it's again molded in the same shape of final push of July 31. So what they are doing is, because they are good in talking, they rebrand. This thing was called final push. Now it went to called July 31. Now it's called citizens' convergence. It's just premised around a mass demonstration that can then remove the government, done in I mean, cut and paste around the Arab Springs in Egypt and whatever. Our intelligence in Zimbabwe is very good. People must know that the intelligence of Zimbabwe is very good. It's one of the best, because the country has been under attack for so long from the imperial forces. But all their plans are failing so far, and our military, our police forces, they are very professional, and they are waiting for that convergence, and everyone knows it's not a secret that the convergence is just a noise to push His Excellency to call them for a dialogue. This is desperation for they want to be employed by ZANU-PF through dialogue. Yet they are told that come to Poland, but they are massaging their egos. So I mean, there's nothing. It's words. ZANU-PF now has grown to understand that these guys, they cry for jiggies, and a cry for jiggies is not a revolution. It's not a struggle, and it's just a rhetoric. It's a speech revolution, speech struggle.
Okay, let's go then to the second issue of legitimacy. The issue of legitimacy was raised by Fadzai Mahere on last week, and it's now being raised again by Job Scala. However, Tendai Biti is on record that the issue of legitimacy is no longer on the table. And Chamisa has not raised the issue of legitimacy for a long, long period of time. And then Pedse Ruhanya, who is very close to the MDC alliance, he indicated that there are now 3 factions in the MDC alliance. Similarly, someone like Hopo Chingono has been pushing for a name change, and he is very, very close to Job Scala. What is happening here is the issue of legitimacy, something that is being pushed by one faction in the MDC alliance, or is there confusion between the leaders there?
Yeah, as I was saying, when ZANU-PF managed to take over power in Zimbabwe from the ruthless Smith regime, because the party was formed around a cause, which was a freedom, independence, a revolution. But now these are academic guys, the Ruhanyas, your PhD, they drink coffee. Jonathan Moyo, a criminal who just think is a politician. I mean, they just drink coffee, slay queens, and then they say they are in a struggle. You are arrested, you go to Chikurubi, you come out, you get donor funds. They make money. They are Chikurubi entrepreneurs. So now there's no change coming to Zimbabwe, because these guys, their game plan is to commit a crime. The activism, cash activists, that's the proper name. They are cashivists. What Wopo is doing, he's being paid for that, So it's a cycle. Wopo do something, he's arrested. We saw, I think it was today, I guess he was in court, and he was taking selfies. Mother of Joanna Mamombe, my lawyers are debating, are talking to the prosecution. I mean, when he's at court premises, Hopo is at work. Joanna Mamombe, they look good, perfumes, and so there's no change coming in Zimbabwe. This one Scala comes there, talk, finish. Legitimacy is measured and judged by a competent court of law. The highest court of Zimbabwe confirmed the ED as the president of Zimbabwe. They were asked to be present. They V11s. They didn't have anything. Chamisa was declared illegitimate by the competent court of Zimbabwe. ED was declared legitimate. So I don't know if they talk about illegitimacy as a campaign strategy. Their campaign is called illegitimacy. And I don't know. 2013 elections, Morgan Tsvangirai declared Robert Mugabe illegitimate. He went to court of law. They traveled the same highway of illegitimacy into 2018. 2018, ED is illegitimacy. They are in the same highway. Who doesn't know that come 2023, when there is after the announcement of results 2023, ED would be the president of Zimbabwe. If of course I don't defeat him, because I'm likely to defeat ED, and and I'm the biggest dark horse in that election. So now, it's obvious after the announcement of the election, if Tinashe Jonas is not in power, and I'll honorably, if I lose to ED, I won't have a problem. I will congratulate him, but he must not relax. So now, it's obvious after the announcement of the results that the MDC Alliance would cry foul, legitimacy. Now it's a song. So I think their campaign is called Illegitimacy. That's their campaign. And then maybe their party is now called the Citizen Convergence, but they are not trying to announce it officially. I feel like their campaign is called Illegitimacy, and their new political party is called Citizens Convergence.
Okay. So, Chamisa, is he getting the right advice? I've asked you this question before. You saw Atam Tambara, right? I want to go to Atam Tambara, Fadzai Mahere, Jonathan Moyo, Job Scala, Hopo Chungono. Those are the most vocal people.
Yeah.
What advice do you think they are giving Chamisa? Should we be focusing on elections or dialogue or fixing his party?
Let me mention these so-called advisors. Atam Tambara, I think, is a good. I respect him as a professor, robotic professor. I respect him so much. Politically, I don't think there's anything to talk about. Let us visit our slay queen, Fadzai Mahere. In case Chamisa, you don't marry Fadzai, I don't mind. We can have an alliance. I can marry her. Fadzai Mahere is a failed slay queen. She ran as an independent. She failed it. She's a failed politician. But the slay queen business is working. It's working. She's now in the corridors of MDC Alliance power because of the slay queen. We go to Jonathan Moyo. He's a failed politician. As we speak, he's in some rundown village in Kenya. So and all the people, Job Scala is just a drunkard. I mean, the organizations which deal with alcohol abuse in Zimbabwe, the substance abuse, they must grab Scala and just detain him in a rehabilitation center. There's no one around Chamisa. To me, he must just be an activist of the LGBT community. He must join girls, gay and lesbian of Zimbabwe, and be a spokesperson there. So there's no one around Chamisa. Nothing. There's nothing. Chamisa is not there. Chamisa can form a church. It won't even go anywhere. So Chamisa is representing nothing. He became a president of the party. It was nullified. He got some 2 million votes illegally, illegitimately. They were nullified. He got some member of parliament. They were made to sign affidavits. The affidavits were illegitimate, and the MPs became illegitimate. And anything about Chamisa is illegitimate. It's non-existent. It's nullified. It's null and void. So there's nothing. These are clowns. I don't know why Mudungwe is not invited to MDC Alliance and take over leadership. I think Mudungwe can even do better in terms of clowning than these drunkards like Scala.
Okay, let's go to my last video, which I want to play. It's about another 30 seconds. And then we ask you some more questions after that.
Okay. I'm suggesting that instead of doing elections, why can't we use election money to build roads? And also to work towards making sure, number one, that Zimbabwe elections are not run by ZANU-PF. Because as long as we have people like the people we have right now in the judiciary and even in the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission as directors or director generals, we are going nowhere. As long as we have election agents from other political parties being deprived of election statistics and election information from the polling centers, which information is allowed and given to ZANU-PF polling agents, we are not going anywhere. So, to Zimbabweans, my advice to you is, if you are doing a small business, focus on improving your business.
Right. Very, very powerful words from a very, very wise person. I think everyone here respects Apostle Talent Chiwenga in terms of his foresight. He does not take sides. I think he's been attacking both sides. He said some very, very important points here, which is the election in Zimbabwe is not going to bring change. And I'm sure you've said it yourself before, that the kind of environment that we have does not allow a vote. And Chamisa said it last month, I think last month, to say that what they're failing to do is to change the government. They can win an election, Morgan Tsvangirai can win an election, but they can't change the government for a number of reasons. Is what he's suggesting here the best approach? Forget about the elections and move to something else.
All right. I want to define a change. That there's no change of government. There's no change. Elections won't bring change. What we are seeing in Zimbabwe right now, there's a change. There's a change of a president. There's a change of an administration. Ministers are new faces. Some are new faces and member of parliament and everything. I mean, I think the change is maybe monopolized in our political industry. When people in Zimbabwe say, when people in MDC Alliance talk about change, what they mean is Chamisa to take over. That's the change they are talking about. So when they say an election doesn't have a change, it won't bring up change. I mean, it's a myopic statement. It's referring to Chamisa. There's a change already in Zimbabwe, and to those who are progressive, although I'm contesting ED, but I will be honest, the developmental trajectory ED is running, I mean, now, it's far much better than Robert Mugabe. Although Robert Mugabe from 1980 was backed by a massive multi-million-dollar donor funding, and ED doesn't have much donor funding because of the sanctions. But ED is trying in terms of stabilizing the economy and taking the country forward. I mean, what Chamisa Talent Chiwenga is saying, to me, it's hogwash, because he is limiting his points of view to the frustration that to him the best election is when ZANU-PF loses power. But when ZANU-PF is who is sponsoring ZANU-PF is MDC. People, they hate ZANU-PF, but they don't know that ZANU-PF is sponsored by MDC. MDC is doing everything in its power to make sure ZANU-PF stay in power. When people are clowns, how can you remove ZANU-PF? Job Scala, people, they believe in Job Scala. That Job Scala is going to remove ZANU-PF. People are believing Fadzai Mahere with the nails, with everything, she is going to remove ZANU-PF. So I think Talent Chiwenga is talking out of frustration. It's a frustration that he has been so vocal that ZANU-PF must be removed. They don't know how to run the country. And now he is realizing that the podium he was talking and addressing the removal of ZANU-PF, there was no audience. And now he's frustrated. We listen to Job Scala again, he's frustrated. Fadzai Mahere every day, whatever she says, she concludes by saying Zimbabwe needs new leadership. You don't type Zimbabwe wants new leadership and then the image from where? From Twitter. So we are having a speech revolution. We are having a social media revolution, and on the real ground. So ZANU-PF to me is enabled. The enablers of ZANU-PF to run Zimbabwe for quite a long time are MDC. They are not organized. They are pushing individual interests instead of national interests. They are not premised around a cause, and hence they are divided themselves. As you say, there are faction in MDC Alliance. There's the MDC Monzora. There's another one which is behind the scenes called the MDC Tokozani Kupe Pugeni. There behind somewhere there, some MDC America there behind it. We don't know. I mean, so we as I said, we can say MDC A to Z, and then come back MDC A1. B1 will come back MDCA 2 until we finish also the letters of alphabet. We can going to finish the numbering. There's nothing. MDC is sponsored. They say MDC is Western sponsored. ZANU-PF is sponsored by MDC. The confusion in MDC is the sponsoring of ZANU-PF.
Okay, I think let's wrap this up. You have said that Nelson Chamisa, as it is surrounded by people that are not serious.
Clowns.
What can be done now? If 2023 was to be rescued 2 to 3 years before, what could be done if you were in his position?
Okay, first of all, Chamisa's political career is not established on authenticity, on genuineness, on honesty. It's far from that. Chamisa is a master manipulator, is a fraudster, his career is there for money. Chamisa is making money. Chamisa is a business partner of Charlton Wende, and they've got companies in Namibia. They are making money. Before that, they had contracts with Robert Mugabe. While his MDC supporters, gullible, stupid MDC supporters were crying, Mugabe is killing us, ZANU-PF is killing us. Chamisa was making money contracted by Robert Mugabe and Charlton Wende, Gushungo Dairy. So Chamisa is making money. I mean, Chamisa is making money. Charlton Wende is making money. So it's a cash generating project. There's nothing. Magaisa, they Saturday read, big read. After writing that Saturday, does he expect ZANU-PF to disappear? These are clowns. They who make money with this. They must continue making money. Joanna Mamombe, do you think what Joanna Mamombe is doing is going to remove ZANU-PF? Young lawyers of Zimbabwe, what? Let's say Chief Justice, let's say is retired. Let's say if we assume if we assume the appeal of lodged by the government can even, let's say it can fail. That doesn't. But people are celebrating. Chief Justice Malava lost a case or whatever. The government lost a case. That doesn't escort Chamisa into State House. And the same people who are saying the judiciary is captured are the same people who are celebrating the judgment. And now you start asking, are these people normal? I'm telling you, MDC Alliance leadership is an asylum, is Ngoma Huru, and the supporters are they are, I don't know, what can I say? MDC supporters are stupid and they are not normal.
Okay, and those are the words of their president, the ones who are demonstrating. Yeah. Okay. Right. So I just want to wrap up because I'm feeling that we are reaching a certain point where there are two differing views in the MDC. Which one do you think is going to dominate? The one that says, let's go for elections, and one that says these elections are useless. So you put Apostle Talen Chiwenga on one side, elections are a waste of time, and then you put Chingono and Job Scala on the other. These are two different views surrounding Chamisa. Which one do you think is going to win between those two views?
Okay, 2018, all the views were put into one. They were bunched together, and they failed. The party itself was together with the Monzora faction, and they were defeated. Now the party has gone to MDC Chamisa, MDC Scala, MDC Mahere, MDC Monzora, MDC Coupe. This confusion, we all know that BT is ambitious, Scala is ambitious, but although they want to tell us where is MDC 99, where is PDP, Welshman Nube is ambitious. He will never tell us where is MDC Green. So these are failed, lawyers who are losing case after case. These are failed politicians whose individual political parties disappear into thin air. There's nothing. They are just scrambling for donor funds. Nothing else. There's no faction which is going to win, because when the factions were together 2018, they were defeated. Now that they are into pieces, 6s and 9s. Only that by law is not allowed. But I was going to tell my rival ED to say, hey, my man, if I was not going if I'm not fencing my chances of defeating ED, I was actually going to advise ED to do inauguration party, so that we don't waste money with resources. We don't waste resources when there's no election. There's no election. Maybe it's two horse. It's just a two-way. It's a horse. It's me and ED.
Okay, right. Mr. Tinashe Jonas, it's been nice talking to you. And this week we want to keep it very, very short. Is there anything you want to say before we close? Yeah,
I'm saying we need to support the work progress in our country. Our president, we can differ politically, but ED is doing a good job, a fantastic job, and I believe we need to support him. We need to be united on developmental agenda. We need to be united on peace agenda, on reconciliation, on social cohesion, national interests. This bickering around power and the lying. I hate MDC Alliance for lying to their supporters that they are in a struggle when it's a fantasy struggle. And then gullible people like Macomborero are in prison. Mahere is slaying. Chamisa is slaying. Scala is drinking day and night. And the youngsters are in prisons. So I think they are sacrificing our youth, who must be now we are active to participate in our development as a country. The same youth are now must be in prison under the belief that it's a struggle. So MDC Alliance must stop fooling people. They must they must form non-profit organizations, get their donor funds, and keep quiet. They must not lie to their supporters. And the supporters of MDC Alliance must also not be tools for donor funds. They mustn't be arrested to go to prison for what? Who must go to prison for Zimbabwe? Who must die for Zimbabwe? For what? So the supporters are also stupid, and there's no medication for stupidity.
Okay. I think this is quite sad to me, especially given the direction of the conversation that we had earlier this year. You remember the conversation was on dialogue.
Yeah.
And then from dialogue, it moved to the split there was a lot of talk about the split and Chamisa moving on to form his own political party. And then Chamisa had said he was going to go in the rural areas all over Zimbabwe to consult and to raise funds. So I see a confusion in terms of the strategy, and we have a core of supporters that are very vocal on social media. And as you say, nothing happening at the end of 2023 because it's all not coordinated, and there's so many people with so many agendas and so many ambitions within the MDC alliance. But you didn't mention Tendai Biti. Tendai Biti, what is his strategy now? If Chamisa was to lose in 2023, what would Tendai Biti do?
Okay, Tendai Biti formed the PDP, which is now in oblivion. PDP is an evidence of who is Tendai Biti politically. So, so Tendai Biti has never bleached now. Maybe if he had bleached, we can say maybe with a new skin, it's branding. It's a new branding, identity. I mean, you don't win elections by changing the name of organizations. Tendai Biti doesn't have mass appeal, no strategy. If PDP is in almost a political desert, what else? Whatever he starts, Tendai Biti changes into thin air. There's nothing. As I said, we saw how when Tendai Biti was divorcing his wife, the properties he owns, the money, the cars. These people are cashivists. MDC Alliance, Changirai had 20 cars when he died in his name. What about his small houses? What about Elizabeth, his wife? We saw how she's slaying. She has got money, that woman. And you wonder why even Changirai married Elizabeth, a young wife, when Changirai had sugar diabetes. Jonah was not even waking up for any prayers. It's all stupidity. So, I mean, and again, Changirai was a rival of ZANU-PF, and he was fishing in ZANU-PF's fish pond. And the same, these so-called lawyers of MDC Alliance, they are representing ZANU-PF people, and they say they are the demigods of corruption. But they represent ZANU-PF people that they say they are corrupt. They celebrate no political party. If ZANU-PF captured the courts of Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF is not running into courts of Zimbabwe. Their courts. MDC Alliance, which is alleging that ZANU-PF owns the courts, are the ones who are day in, day out in ZANU-PF courts. So now, if ZANU-PF captured the courts, but MDC takes the courts of ZANU-PF as a playing ground, so I think the courts are owned by MDC, not really by ZANU, because the MDC are utilizing the courts of Zimbabwe more than any political party. So they must just come out clear and say we own the courts. They should not play around with us, because if the courts were ZANU-PF branches, why would MDC people be always found in ZANU-PF branches? So so it's all clowning, and that's why I'm saying Madumbe must apply for a position in MDC Alliance.
Right, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, very, very clear. And as I said, you have never been wrong, especially when we went through the lockdown. You said a lot, and most of it has come true. And I hope that this also doesn't come true, that 2023 is just a waste of time for Chamisa and his party. Right. Thank you, Mr. Jonas, and we'll talk again on Monday next week.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much, and have a good night.